You walk into a room and the atmosphere undergoes a physical change. It's as if an unseen pressure wave precedes you, altering the very density of the air the moment you enter. The reactions from those around you are immediate and irrational. You face glares with no provocation, connections that sever without warning, and a persistent, heavy fog of misunderstanding that follows your every move. Most people respond to this friction by looking for a personal flaw. You try to dampen your own signal, shrinking your posture, muting your opinions, and performing a version of yourself that feels safe enough to blend into the background. But masking a high-output nature carries a biological cost. You experience a crushing, unexplainable exhaustion, a constant weight in your chest, and dreams that feel more like a series of intense spiritual assessments. This internal heaviness rarely aligns with your actual physical circumstances. You aren't suffering from a lack of confidence. You are picking up on a specific environmental signal that the majority of the world has been trained to ignore. The hostility you encounter is a mechanical reaction. It is the environment's response to a highly disruptive spiritual voltage that you carry by design. This frequency is the anointing. It functions as a smooth, high-amplitude waveform that forces surrounding chaotic fields to align or break. Entities anchored in darkness are physically incompatible with this transmission. When your frequency makes contact, the jagged, low-tier energy is forced to scatter. This specific resonance has a secondary effect. It functions as a diagnostic tool. It automatically unmasks anything fake, hidden, or structurally unsound in the people and spaces around you. You don't have to initiate a confrontation. The exposure happens passively. Your mere presence provides the light required for hidden things to suddenly become visible. This creates a systemic threat. By simply existing, you disrupt the carefully maintained illusion of control that lower-frequency systems rely on to function. Because your presence is an existential challenge to the local order, the environment's only logical defense is to project immediate, unprovoked resistance back at you. This friction usually begins long before you have the words to describe it. It shows up in childhood as a heightened sensitivity to tension, deep emotional weights, and tears that don't seem to belong to you. From a mechanical standpoint, a signal is most vulnerable at its point of origin. The early traumas and betrayals you faced were attempts to fracture the source before the frequency could stabilize and reach full resonance. If the core identity can be shattered through early rejection, the inherent power of the individual remains trapped behind a wall of self-doubt, effectively neutralizing the threat to the status quo. This explains the sudden, forced isolation. Relationships that cannot sustain your increasing spiritual weight begin to detach and peel away from your path. This separation isn't a social failure, it is a tactical removal. You are being moved into a controlled environment where your development can proceed without the interference of misaligned connections. Not every system can handle the load you are beginning to carry. The isolation you feel is the structural reinforcement of your own spirit, preparing you for a level of output that superficial spaces cannot support. The crushing pressure of this season is actually a form of spiritual contraction. It has been necessary mechanical force required to transition you into true divine alignment. The point of no return for the surrounding darkness occurs when you move from mere survival into full internal recognition. An anomaly that understands its own nature can no longer be managed or contained. If the resistance against you is reaching a peak, it serves as confirmation of your proximity. The system only fights this hard when it is about to lose territory it has held for generations. Your response must be an operational shift. You stop seeking the approval of the very systems you were sent to disrupt, and you stop apologizing for the inevitable friction your presence causes. Real influence is generated through internal stillness. As you move into a state of total surrender to your calling, your core frequency expands, steadily dissolving the chaotic storms that once felt overwhelming. When you occupy your space with this level of precision, you become a living contradiction to the plans of the enemy. Your unapologetic presence alone makes the surrounding darkness find the environment uninhabitable.